If I ask you to imagine a wise person, what comes to mind? Do you see an old man with a long white beard, an old aging lady with long silver hair, or someone like Yoda? Hi everyone, I'm Vic Pe, and today I'm here to tell you that wisdom can look as young as me. First off, I'd like to thank Master Del Pe and the whole team of the Third International Convention on Higher Consciousness for allowing me to share my knowledge and wisdom on the topic Wisdom in Youth. So, what is wisdom in youth? Wisdom in youth is this paradigm shift where young people have to become wise as early as possible. This will help them to avoid a lot of their trials and errors of life, a lot of mistakes, so that they can maximize their potential and service to humanity as soon as possible. Now, being a young person myself, I've been through all these trials and tribulations, and I've seen what it's like to go kind of confused. Why do I say confused? Well, because sometimes as a young person, you don't have a role model, or sometimes you don't have the guidelines on how you're supposed to behave as a young person. So there's this limiting consciousness that is looming around us where we see wisdom as only for the older people, people with PhDs, people with accolades, who have been through lots of struggle, who've been through a lot of turmoils in life in order to say that they are wise. But wisdom can come early on. Another factor that contributes to this limiting consciousness is the way that parents today parent their children. Yes, you have a child, they're your child, but sometimes we think that they're your child forever. Or there are some parents that are like, oh, he's the center of my universe, or she's the most beautiful child. Unfortunately, after doing that for so many times, it can really misalign the perception of what is true to the young person. So moving forward, parenting should include some principles, some wisdom and alignment that can help the young person grow and flourish so that whenever they go through any mistakes or turmoils in life, they have some guiding principles and values that they can abide by. Another thing that contributes to the limiting consciousness that children are only supposed to be children and teenagers and act the way that they do is our education and school system. Today, education is based on logic, on rote education, on the logical mind, on science and technology. Do you ever go to school and come home and think, wow, I really learned how to solve my emotional issues? Or, yeah, I really learned how to get out of my depression. Not always. So this limiting way that education forms us in today only lets us think of correctness instead of rightness. Correctness is found in the logical mind, whereas rightness is found with wisdom. We are taught that we can have good accolades and good grades, sometimes at the expense of others. We are sometimes taught that you can have a win-lose opportunity where you win a lot of things at the expense of someone else's success. To business people and to the corporate world, sometimes that is correct. You can do that. You can be ahead of your competitor. But when you're looking at a higher consciousness aspect, you want to go for win-win situations where you win and the other person wins in a collaborative way. And eventually you can go for win-win-win, which is where you win, they win, and the community or even the world at large can win because of your efforts together. Another factor that contributes to the lack of wisdom today is the peer group of the individual. Now, they usually say, tell me who your friends are and I can tell you who you are. So is that good or is it bad? So a lot of kids today spend most of their time with their friends. Little do they spend with a parent or a mentor who can guide them. So you can see if it's 80% time with your friends and only a few percent with someone who can really guide you, you can guess that if the influence here is more negative, the person themselves probably has negativity as absorbed by the others. So we need to give wisdom to the young person that they should have discernment and also discrimination to know right and wrong from who is the right person to be with from the start. That's how they can avoid peer pressure. If you have that right and wrong, that discrimination from the start, you don't have to feel that you're pressured because you're already choosing to be with people who will help and uplift you. So, how do we overcome this and how do we get to wisdom in youth fast? Well, first, we need to dispel the old consciousness that only older people are supposed to be wise. We need to show youth and parents and educators that it is actually a competitive edge for wisdom in youth. They will make less mistakes. They will look at their success long term. It's not only a short-term game, it's a long-term game. You can have a easy, gratifying, easy way out kind of decision making, but when you put wisdom into it, you think of the long-term aspects, you think of putting yourself in someone else's shoes and seeing it using your emotional intelligence and your wisdom. Another way that we can bring wisdom in youth is to upgrade the parenting style. When we upgrade the parenting style, we also install wisdom in the parent that will let them portray that to their kids so that their children can also do the same. Now, what does this mean? For example, some parents are like, oh yeah, my kid is just that way because, teenagers are supposed to be that way. They can say words that they want, any defiant actions, they'll grow out of it. But from early on, it is good to install a curriculum or a guideline that is based on principles, especially spiritual principles of the soul, that will help them make their decisions, even if you're not there. You don't always have to worry if they're out going somewhere or doing something not supposed to, because you have set some principles and boundaries with them. Another way, thirdly, is that we can upgrade the educational system where we install wisdom-based learning, immersion learning, synthesis learning into the curriculum. See, wisdom doesn't happen overnight. There's a way that you have to be mature, they have to be seasoned. So why not start while we're young instead of until we are very old and unable to do our projects? So another way that we can install wisdom in youth is by giving them better decision-making skills that will help them take charge and lead in life. If you always let them get what they want because they complain, in the future, their crying, their complaining will lead into a person who thinks that they always deserve everything because they've complained enough for it. That is the old way. We have to teach children now that they have to lead in life. They have to take charge of their own strengths, of their own mistakes and weaknesses in order to jump to their next level. Another aspect, fourthly, that really I know works is that you need to have a mentor. So youth need to have a mentor. Why? Because some of them don't have all the role models. And sometimes the parents themselves are too close to tell them these things. So you need a mentor who can guide you, who can say, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are your opportunities? What are your threats? And also, they've been there and they've done that, so they know the formula, practical wisdom. Another option that they have to install wisdom in their life is to have the wisdom of gratitude. When you have gratitude towards life, it's hard for you to get shaken about life and many changes because you know that is for your evolution and for your own growth. So, to finish this talk, I'd like to also express my gratitude to those who have helped me, who have parented me in many ways to be where I am today. Firstly, I'd like to thank my parents, Beck and Marlon, for bringing me this opportunity to learn and be under this new education, especially to my mom, Beck, for being the epitome of wisdom applied practically in life. I'd like to thank my siblings, Leah and Anna, who taught me harmony through contrast and sometimes harmony through tolerance. I'd also like to thank all my colleagues, all my NDP Village friends and family that I have here who have helped me learn how to deal and manage and interact with the 8 types of people, and have given me the wisdom that comes also from international flavors, different takes on life. And I also like to thank my very first mentor in my life, Rega Stellar, She has been a real key to my growth and my development. She showed me that you can learn how to be wise not by having a PhD, but you can be professional and you can do things with thoroughness, with elegance, and with execution of your talent and your skills. So she's been a real key in my growth in terms of being wise. And I also like to thank the MDP Ashram and Master Del Pe and all the beings who gave us the tools of wisdom to download and channel this and be a bridge for the new youth. They have really jump-started my life, and I'm so grateful for that. And before I go, I'd like to give some parting wisdom. One of the very most important pieces of wisdom I've learned. It's that do whatever you can to be with extraordinary people. Whatever it takes, do whatever you can to be with extraordinary people. Pay whatever price to be with extraordinary people, to be with a spiritual teacher, because that is the best way that you can harness wisdom. In a few hours with them, you can learn so much more than you can learn in many hundreds of books and many hundreds of lives. So with this, I'd like to say, take charge in your life. Find those key people in your life who can give you wisdom. And we've been doing this. We have a program called Super Kids Training and Mentoring Program, and the Maximizing Performance for Children and Youth. And I'm so glad to say that I am a product of that and now serving as youth director. I came to the Philippines to be trained by Master Del Pe and my mentors personally at 17. And today I stand before you, 23 years old, and presenting to you my message. So take charge and let's spread the wisdom in youth. Thank you.